So that's how I determine what my offer is going to be. That's now.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that you want to take into account, right? So, has this property been in escrow yet? Have they accepted any offers on it yet?
No.
Okay, cool. So walk me through where we're at on the deal, or what kind of deal it is, and what you were trying to underwrite.
So yeah, should I just show my screen? Probably.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you want to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at this moment, like the deal right now, like they're still very open to it.
Okay.
It's been on the market for like maybe over 100 days now. The owner passed away. He bought it in the auction for 40,000, and now the mom and kid wants to sell it, but it's in like a high in a high area where there's a lot of Airbnbers, so they know like they want to sell for 200, and they're pretty firm on that. And I was asking the seller, like, what's the lowest rate that they would go, and they said they had offers already from like 180 to 190.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, and just like kind of I went through the property yesterday, and it needs a lot of work. Like it needs to be gutted, and there's a lot of mold, there's a lot of water damage, and just everything just needs to be worked in it. And the seller was like, oh, it probably needs like 120,000 in reno, which could be a decent estimate. I just showed my father-in-law, and he's like, that's a decent estimate, but we don't know what other damages are inside of it without the inspection. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And, I'm not sure if it's a good deal at the moment, because I'm still trying to figure out the numbers. That's where I'm kind of lost with the numbers, because I'm looking at it where at like the Zillow's rent, they're saying it's about 3K.
Okay.
And Airbnb, a lot of Airbnbers for around that is about, close to $300, $400 a night. So,
Okay. Do you have an AirDNA account?
Airbnb account?
AirDNA.
AirDNA, what is that?
Have you here? I'll show. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Let's do this. What is the property address?
So it's actually 10 Mary Kane Road, Greenwood Lake.
10 Mary Kane.
Yeah, Mary, as in Mary.
I'm still thinking Christmas.
Yeah, no
Mary
worries.
Kane Road.
Yeah.
10 Mary Kane Road in Greenwood Lake, New York.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I want to see it on Zillow actually instead of Redfin. Okay. All right. So they have it on the market for 218, and it is listed by BHG, by Berkshire. Is that BHG? Is that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so Jimmy's.
Okay, so there are agents on it, but it's been sitting on the market for 116 days, and they want 200 for it. Yeah, they're not going to get 200 for it. Not at 116 days, especially. There's just no way. And if it is, easy. Okay, so here's how I calculate repairs. Or let me ask you first, how do you like to calculate repairs?
Generally, I would ask my father-in-law. My father-in-law is a contractor, so he's able to kind of like calculate like, oh, this will probably be like X, Y, and Z amounts. Because you can see like we can do laminate boarding. We can the roof doesn't really need much of it fixed, which is a great thing. But the septic tank, I remember speaking to a local. He said one thing you have to worry about is the septic tanks, because you don't know how good the system is here around this area.
Right, and that can cost you $25,000 to $40,000 depending. Yeah. Okay. So here's how we normally do it. Internally, if it's a lipstick fixer, and a lipstick fixer to me is where it just needs paint and carpet. So if all I got to do is put paint and carpet, that's a $25 job. Okay. $25 per square foot. All right. Now, if it's a rehab, so I got to remodel the kitchen, I got to remodel the bedrooms, I got to remodel the bath, I'm looking at a $45 to $55 a square foot job. Okay. So a good estimate would be 50, right? Now,
Mhm.
gut job, and this to me looks like it could be a gut job. I'm going to be $75 to $85 a square foot. So on average, $80 a square foot is what I would probably go with when it's a gut job. So in this case, because it's 1,800 square feet, I'm looking at about $150,000 in repairs,
Oh, wow.
roughly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it would actually be more. So let's say it's $150,000 in repairs. Um, let's figure out what the ARV on this puppy is, right? So
Yeah.
here's how we usually do it. So what we usually do is I will just open up two of the Zillow windows. Now, some people like to use Privy, and
Mhm.
they have their own strategy and their technique. And I like Privy. I do use Privy. I just Zillow's a damn good site. I mean, it's $1 billion company, right? Then there's a reason.
Yeah, there is.
So their site is just really, really good. And so it just I've gotten used to it and I prefer it. So what I do is I just open up the map. I take a look real quick to see where the property is. And then what I do is I open up the same browser and then I close it down and then I scroll in a little bit more. I remove my boundary and I try to get, okay, so it's about right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for all the properties that have sold. I really don't care about what is active.
Mhm.
I'm going to deselect all. I only want houses. And then for more, I'm going to go sold in the last 14 days. I only want to see the last 14 days of activity. Now, I know some people hem and haw when I tell them that, and they say, you know, you can go as far back as 6 months. But with a market that is decelerating and it's a little volatile, and with the interest rates changing all the time right now, 14 days is probably a very good metric
Okay.
of what's happening in the area. So I prefer 14 days, but I can already tell you that I don't see any activity in the last 14 days. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do find that a little concerning. All right. That's the first thing. Second thing is I can change it and I can go back 30 days, which is still pretty good. And 30 days, now I've got some activity, but it's on the other side of the lake or bay. Yeah, lake. So it's on the other side of the lake, which if you don't know, you can't use as comparables. So you can't cross any natural boundaries. You can't cross any man-made
Okay.
boundaries. So freeways, mountains, lakes, rivers, dams, anything like that, you don't cross over because it's a different
Wow.
neighborhood. All right.
Okay.
So I need to find stuff that's here, that's been selling here. So when I check the comps, I see this one's up here. It's a little far because I think this is a different neighborhood since we are so close to the lake. But
Mhm.
you know, it gives me an idea. It looks like this house is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet, just sold in December for 500,000.
Mhm.
So I'm going to keep it in mind, but I'm not going to place that much weight on it. I want stuff that's more in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, so fine. I can't find anything in 30 days. I'll go back to 90 days now. All right. So in the last 90 days, we have had some activity, which is okay. It's still a little scary, okay, because
Yeah, yeah.
like I said, the fact that there hasn't been anything else. So let's take a look. I think we are right above this. There's Mary Kane and there's Leo. So we are right around here, right? So we've got some good
Yeah.
activity in the area. Here's 485, 2,200 square feet. And this one's just an average. I mean, it wasn't flipped. It was just a livable home with a great view and in a great neighborhood.
Yeah.
So this one went for 485. Yeah.
Mhm.
But a little bit bigger, 2,200 square feet. Here we got 659. I'm not going to even look at that one. 435, 700 square feet, but this one is closer to the lake. And we are, where is Mary Kane?
Mary Kane's right over, right, but yeah, where your dot is. Actually, where you're holding
Right here,
the
right here.
yeah.
So it's right here. All right, 435. Let's say 250. See, all of these are considerably smaller. So this is probably my best comp, but yet we're closer to the lake. So anyway, this is my best comp. This one sold at 485, 3-bed, 2-bath. It's not a flip.
Yeah, but that looks a lot better than the one I saw.
Oh yeah. So let's just assume then. Let's assume that if ours was really, really nice and it was fixed up and it was super clean, let's assume then, I don't know, it doesn't look like it has that much character right now, just because this
Mm.
tree right there is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's assume then this is 2,200 square feet. Ours is 1,800 square feet. That's about 400 square foot bigger. That's really big. So let's assume that we could probably get ours for about, if it was fixed up, really nice, I think safely, maybe 420, 425 is what I think the value would probably be. All
Okay.
right. So here's what we use. We created a calculator, and I'll share this with you, by the way.
That'd be great. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for all this, man. This is great information.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're all investors. And so
Yeah.
if you have a deal and it's something that people are always asking me, like, why do you do this? Well, number one, because we're all helping each other. But number two, let's be real. If you come across a deal and it's not something that you personally pick up, hopefully I'll be top of mind just because I helped you out. Right.
Yeah.
So if
Absolutely.
it's not something you buy, then maybe you could bring it to me and so on and so on and so on. So, we are only as strong as our network. So that's why I do this. Okay. So here's the calculator that we use. Now, in my organization, in our office, we have a minimum standard of like 15K as our fee. Okay. That's our wholesale fee. So I'm not sure if you're looking at this to purchase or if you're looking at the wholesale. I don't know what the exit strategy is yet. What were you thinking about doing?
Honestly, I wasn't thinking about doing the fix and flip because I know my father-in-law was looking at fix and flips as well. But at this time, like, when I went to the hot property itself, I'm like, this is like way too much work.
Okay.
I felt like it was going to be way too much work, and to go back and forth between New York City and to Greenwood Lake was just too much.
Okay, so let's
I was hoping
analyze
to
this
sign
then
this.
as an assignment, as a wholesale deal. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, so we're going to look at this two different ways. I'm going to give you two different strategies, okay? The first way to look at this is just an all cash wholesale strategy, all right? So let's say you tell me, Paul, I want to make like $20,000 on this assignment fee, right? Let's say that's your goal. So you just enter that as your fee. Can you see, is it too small, or can you see?
Yeah, no, I can see. I can see.
Okay, cool. Then the goal price is the price that you want to get it at. Investor's price, you don't mess with this cell. It adds it up. So I'll keep going and then I'll get back to that. Rehab, I think we concluded that'd be about 150,000.
Yeah.
And then the ARV, 410. It's roughly about 410, I think. It could be potentially more, but let's just say 410. So here's the way I work. The way I work is I will always overestimate repairs and I will always underestimate value. I'd rather do it that way, because that way, if an investor goes and takes a look at it, and if I've overestimated the repairs, it makes the investor excited because it's like, wait a minute, this is less than he says it was going to be to fix. And then I'd rather underestimate the value, because that way, when I go and I send them an opportunity and they take a look at something, they're like, okay, so this is probably worth more than he thinks, right? So it's a little bit of a reverse psychology, and I think the problem with most people in this profession, or who are trying to get into this profession, they do it the opposite way. They underestimate the repairs and then they overestimate the value. I'd rather be more conservative on value and way more aggressive on the repairs. So anyway, those are the numbers. All right. Now, what happens is investor's price auto-populates based on these two cells, and then this calculator assumes that investor is going to be looking at this with a hard money loan. So hard money is going to give them 85%, which is 344. 344 is the acquisition price, the investor's price, plus the rehab. So you're looking at about 400,000, and there's 85% of that. The investor has to come in with about 15% of that, which is $60,000.
Okay.
All right. Now, when they resell it, here's what's going to happen. We have this resale hard money calculator that determines what they're going to net. 410 minus the hard money, the commissions, depreciation. Now, I'm accounting for 10% depreciation right now. All right. Some people, again, they say that might be a little too aggressive, but those are the numbers that we're seeing. And if the interest rates keep going up, I know they've gone down in the last month or two, but if they keep going up, then we are going to see about a 10% depreciation. Think of that as padding. You can change that to 5% depreciation if you want. You can do whatever you want. I just tend to use 10% right now. Closing costs are going to be 1% of the resale price. Then there's private money, investor interest, mortgage payments you got to make, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. By the time you're done with this, if you acquire this property for $235, you're actually losing, the investor is losing $77,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. So what this does is this calculator gives me an idea of what I should be acquiring this property at if I want to assign this to an investor who's going to fix and flip this property. So let's say 110,000. Now they're purchasing it for 130 and they're making 52,000. Good rule of thumb is most flippers don't want to make anything less than 30 cents on the dollar. Some of them will go as high as 20 cents on, as low as 20 cents on the dollar. But for the most part, if they can get 30 cents on their dollar for every dollar they spend, they're pretty happy. In this case, they're going to use 15% for hard money, which is 42,000, and they'll get back 52,000. That's a winning deal for them. So that means you'd have to get it at about 110,000. Right now, I don't know if that's even possible because they have it for sale for 200 right now. But I'm just telling you that that's just based on my analysis right now. That would be the number that it would take to make this deal work. Now, I just said that they want 30% though. Okay, so we can probably go up. We can probably try 140,000. At 140,000, they're spending 46 and they're making about 21, so they're about 45%. So you're still okay if you can get it for about 140,000.
Okay.
Right. So that's how I determine what my offer is going to be. Here's the other thing that you want to take into account, right? So has this property been in escrow yet? Have they accepted any offers on it yet?
No.
So they haven't even accepted any offers on it.
They gotten offers, but they got offers for 180 and 190, and they said they want a firm 200.
Jeez. Yeah.
That's what the agent told me. I'm like, wow, okay, so they're really stuck on 200.
Okay. All right. So that's all cash. In order for this to work as an investor, or for somebody like me, we'd have to get it at about 100. Well, we would be willing to pay maybe 160. We'd love to get it at 140. All right. That's an investor. Okay. Now, here's the second thing that you can do. What you can do is then you can convert this. All right. Now, some people call this novations. Right, I'm sure that you may have heard it on boards.
I've heard it.
Yeah. People talk about it. Okay, so I have implemented kind of a hybrid novation, but it's a little different. So here's what I usually tell the sellers. Okay, I show them these numbers, by the way, and I even, as crazy as this might sound, I've even screen recorded myself doing what I just showed you, and I've sent it to the investor. To the agent, so they could see, like, look, these are the numbers, right? So they can see that. But here's the other option that you can do. You can basically see if you can get the seller to act as the bank and just sell you the property with a down payment. So you're going to convince the seller. You're going to say to the agent, what if I got the seller their price? Okay, I get the seller their price, but they work with me on terms. We're going to do something creative here. So I'm going to give them a down payment. All right, they got to give me at least 6 months of no payments. Okay, 6 months of no payments. Okay, they're going to finance it for me. Then months 7 through 12, I'll make them payments of about $1,500 a month. Okay, after a year, I'll balloon them out the 200,000 that they're looking for, or 180, whatever's left. Let's say you give them $20,000 as a down payment. That means that they're financing $180,000 on the purchase price. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me show you what this looks like in terms of numbers. Here's the ARV again, 410. Let's say the seller gives you a lien of, let's do 180. Okay. Because 180 plus 20 is 200. So if they want 200, they get 200. What will happen then is we're also going to give you payments, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, months 7 through 12. But for the first 6 months, no payments. Let me just work on the property. I'll fix it and get this thing sold. I'll give you a down payment, and then for the first 6 months, no payments. So from months 7 through 12, now people think that that's crazy. They're like, nobody would go for that. Well, sure they would. If that, it's been sitting on the market anyway already for 3 months. They haven't been collecting any money for it right now. Yeah, that's the first reason. And then the second reason that this strategy could not have worked at the beginning of this year or when the market was accelerating. But now that the market is decelerating, I can make these kind of offers, and believe it or not, people will actually go for it just because they get their price. They're so fixated on their price, as opposed to anything else. So $1,500 a month times 6 months worth of payments is $9,000. So in the end, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what will happen is you'll actually get $210,000. I'll make you an extra $10,000 or $9,000 if you just work with me creatively. Now for the buyer, all the buyer has to worry about is the ARV's 400. The seller lien, we're going to give them a lien of 180,000. Okay, because they're going to keep a lien or a note. They're going to finance it. We'll give them a down payment of 20,000. Okay, then we got to figure out our assignment fee. Let's say we want an assignment fee of 20,000. Closing costs, they're not going to be $6,000 on a $200,000 home. It should only be 1% of that. So
2,000.
Oh, no, this is on the resale. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
1%. Yeah. So this is on the resale. So on the resale, there's not going to be an assignment fee. It's on the entry. Well, no, they still got to keep that as an expense. So let's assume that for assignment, they got to be 20,000. Repairs, 150,000. Commissions, So they're going to pay 6% commissions, right? So 6% of 400,000 is 24,000. Monthly payments is 9,000. Mortgage is 0, and then subtotal 409. Does that sound about right? Yeah. So they're actually losing money at that price too. They'd have to get it for a little bit lower, a lot lower. You'd have to get the seller lien for like 150,000. Now you're making a little bit of money. The idea here is this: Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm giving you a down payment. All I got to focus on is the down payment, the assignment fee, the closing costs, and the repairs. Let me get to work.
Yeah.
I'll do the flip. You give me a title. You sell it to me. You're going to finance it. I do the flip, and in the end, we make the money. So here's the entrance for the buyer. For the buyer, they pay the down payment, the assignment fee, the closing costs, which should be less. It should be like 1% of 200. So it should be 2,500 or something like that. Repairs, they don't have to pay commissions. So all in, the buyer would spend 20 plus 20 plus 2,500. So all in, they're in at about $42,000 to get into the property, right? Then they still got to pay for the repairs. They got to be able to get the repairs at 150,000, and then the seller has a lien of all this. They got the 150, the down payment, but sub two. They're not paying the assignment fee on the exit. I'm just trying to get my numbers right. Closing cost on the sale is, let's say, $4,000. Repairs, commissions, monthly payments. So here's what they would net. The buyer would actually net 43,000 on the resale when they sell it themselves. The seller is going to end up getting at 150. They're going to get a little bit less though. Going to end up getting 180.
180, which is probably still.
It's still way more than they're going to get, because if you try to do it as a wholesale, you're probably going to want to get it a little lower than. You're probably going to get it wanted at like 120. See, because then they're spending 43 to make 41. That's a good investment, right? But if so what I would do is I would explain it to the agent. I'd say, look, here's what we can do. I can do all cash, but if I go all cash, I'm only going to come in at 120. In fact, your seller probably should have taken that 180 all cash much earlier. And it wouldn't have shocked me if that person that made the 180 offer went into escrow, then did their inspection, and then tried to whittle the price down while they were in escrow. That wouldn't have shocked me. But the other option is have the seller finance the sale while we do the repairs. And then all you have to do is find a seller who's willing to cover the down payment, the assignment fee, the closing costs, and the repairs. And they would they're going to spend about 192,000 to make $43,000 back, which is again, it's still on the low side at 22%. And the other thing is, they could, in theory, once they have ownership of the property, they could try to refinance it with a hard money lender too. So they don't have to come up with the extra 150,000 for the repairs.
Okay, I think I get it.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah. I think I may have to rewatch the videos because, but definitely it makes sense in my head, but at the same time, it was a lot of information because I'm still trying to.
I got a little convoluted there. Sorry about that. But in theory, all you're doing is just saying, I can get closer to your asking price. Okay, I can get much closer to it if you finance me for the next year. Just finance me for the next year.
So basically, the seller, we're asking the seller to finance us.
Yeah,
essentially, to make this payment, and then we'll pay him back.
Right. So what's going to happen is you guys are at the bank.
Yeah. Because from that.
Go ahead.
No, so let's just say, for instance, the slip 2 is A reviews 410, the seller lien. So we're asking we want to give them 150, but
they're
down payment
going to
20,000.
Exactly. So they're really getting 170.
Yeah.
Right. But they're getting 20 now, 150 a year from now, and potentially $10,000 worth of payments.
Payments from month 7 to 12.
Right.
And from that, so that in a sense, they're getting 180 in a sense.
Exactly.
And then if they accept that offer, then I would have to find. They would give me the title. I would have to find a buyer that's willing to buy it for how much?
For 20,000
$20,000.
down. But so and your assignment fee, which you can
Yep.
modify, you can make it 15 if you wanted to. So now it would be $35,000 down plus 2,500, which comes out to about 37,500 in total.
37.
So all in, if they can come up with 37,500, they now have the property. They'll have title. You're going to assign that to them. Now, here's their options. Their options are: do they have $150,000 in repairs that they can cover themselves, right?
Yeah.
Or couldn't they just refinance the property with a hard money lender after?
Yeah. Makes sense.
And then the hard money lender would lend them the 248 that they needed anyway, based on the ARV.
Got it. So essentially, that's where I wouldn't really need to do anything. It's more or less me finding a buyer that would want to go into this deal.
Right. The first thing you got to do, though, is you got to sell them on that idea, and then lock them up under contract.
Got it. And but what happens if I get them under contract, but I can't find a buyer? Would that leave me stuck in whatever section that I'm in? Like in that area, or?
So what would happen then is your deposit would be in jeopardy. So I tend to I tend to keep my deposits as low as possible. My deposits are usually like $500. Now listen, you're in it's almost like we're sister states, because our price points are very, very similar. So in New York, I know that the agents really like high deposits. In California here, they murder us on deposits. They want like 3%, right? So 3% of this would be something like $6,000. So typically what I do with agents is I just negotiate with them. I tell them, look, give me a $500 deposit. I'll increase it after inspections if I have to. But you can tell the agent, look, at this price point, just give it to me like like $1,000 deposit, $1,500 deposit. But yes, there's always the potential that you could lose that deposit if you don't perform, which is why you do your numbers and you try to get it as close to where you want to be as possible, because you know that at the price that you're trying to get it at, you could potentially sell it to another investor.
Yeah. Now, as an investor yourself, what numbers? I mean, do you flip houses as well?
Yeah.
Or like buy houses? What numbers do you generally look for in that sense to like, okay, this can work? Like if like this net profit, like, would that work for you? Or would you want to go like,
yeah, going back to what I said
larger
earlier, I like, like 30% or more is always good. 30% or less gets sticky. Yeah. See, so like, 22%, I'm making 43,000, but we're spending 187 to get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad return, but it's a little scary. It's a little scary. Now, again, you can adjust your assignment fee, and now it's 23%. But like, why would you adjust it when you're the one orchestrating the deal? You're the one curating this deal, so I wouldn't do that. What you should do is you should probably try to get the seller's lien a little bit lower. Now you're back down to 164. So these are the numbers that you can play with.
Yeah, and that's difficult because it seems like they're just stuck. I mean, even with 100,000, they're still making 60,000 on top of the 40.
Yeah.
So.
And look, commissions here, I think I did it at 6%. Really, that should be $20,000. So look, I mean, when you start to play with things, they tend to get. Yeah, you just have to figure out where you can budget stuff.
Yeah.
So like, I was too high on the commissions, and then the repairs. Remember, I used an $80 a square foot. I was a little high on that too. So I think this is a deal if you're able to get the agent on board.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so you've got two different options now.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
I'll share this calculator with you too, so that way you have it.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate that. And are you in the market for just California?
Yeah, well, we only buy. So I'm a licensed broker in California, Nevada, and Florida. Okay, those three states. Okay. In fact, I already completed my classes for New York. I just have to fly out there to go take the test because you have to do it. Yeah, you got to do it in person. So right now I'm only buying in California, really just within my LA County market, and then Florida, because we go out there, the family and I go out there a lot, to Orlando. So those are the only two markets where I really, because of how frequently I mean, I live here in California, but how frequently I go to Orlando, I'm doing flips in. Everything else, we're still able to find buyers for it. That part of our disposition team it's called the dispodragons. So we're able to, we know how to find investors and flippers. That we do know how. And I can teach you how to do that too. We can teach you how to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's amazing.
All right.
Thank you so much, Paul. Yeah, seeing this makes it so much more sense. Just doing a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, totally. I'm the same way. I needed somebody to do this with me. Because I couldn't figure, like, I kept watching videos, but I was just, anyway. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. So I need